Okay. So we want to be able to share this recording with some of the folks that couldn't make it, or some of you that might want to go back and watch part of it. I don't know, but.
Make sure y'all put yourselves on mute.
Okay, so it is time. I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen. And I will tell you all, Lisa is out of the country. So you have to put up with just me and Chris tonight. And we're gonna kind of tag team the information. So I'll let Chris get us started. By the way, if you have questions along the way, put it in the chat or raise your hand, or just, if we don't notice, just unmute yourself and ask away, and we'll cover that for you.
All right. First of all, thank y'all for coming out here tonight on a Tuesday night. I appreciate that. Um, Thank y'all for stepping up to this, wanting to be a captain or a co-captain. Um, Without you guys, this league wouldn't exist. So first of all, thank y'all for that. Basically, this league is nonprofit, so your $35 will go towards the administration, insurance, and playoff tournament. Introductions to the staff. First, Dan Gibson. He's our new Northeast League coordinator. Um, Lisa, who's out of town or out of the country, she's our women's league coordinator. Deanne is the mixed league coordinator. I'm the men's league coordinator. So if you can't get a hold of one of us, I mean, you should be able to get a hold of us via email or text or whatever. One of us will be able to answer your questions.
And I just want to add that we are volunteers. So we don't get paid for this position, but we enjoy the position and being able to work with all of you. But we are volunteers, and we're learning all of this along with you. I, learn something, it seems, every week with all of this that's going on. So be patient with us.
All right, chain of command. If you are a player and you have a question, you go straight to your captain or co-captain. Then if the captain can't answer that question, then the captain will contact one of us. And if I don't know the answer, then I will go to my regional manager. And if it's that difficult for the regional manager to answer the question, then he would talk to the board of directors of the league. And I'm gonna have Deanne talk about the schedule.
Okay, one other thing to add to the chain of command, especially for the Pictona teams. I will say that last season we had 11 teams based in Pictona as their home court, which is amazing. And so far, I think we're up to 13 for this season. And Pictona was at first like really overwhelmed when I told them that was going on, and they didn't really know what to do right away. There was some, position changes at Pictona, and anyways, it came down to that they really don't want the captains or the players from the teams contacting them about league information. They want it to be very streamlined and only come through the league coordinators. So, along with this chain of command, if there's something to do with Pictona, please do not call them up and say, I got to find out if my team's playing here or whatever, because it seems to be kind of overwhelming for them. So if you could do that, that would be great. As far as, okay, so I'll take over for a moment here. So our schedule, we've kind of established a pretty workable schedule in Volusia. It is not set in stone, but it does seem to be working for the most part with our teams. I have told the scheduler to keep our women's and men's on Saturdays, our mixed doubles on Sundays, and our 65 and over teams will be during the weekdays. Again, this can be flexible. It can be switched up if the teams are agreeing to that. Especially with tournaments. So I don't have all the dates on hand right now, but I know there's several tournaments during our winter season at Pictona. And whether your team has members playing in it, chances are whoever your opponents are for that week probably have people playing in the tournament. So we need to really work together and be flexible around the tournaments. Which is another thing that all the Pictona matches, if there are matches, they're not going to be able to be played at Pictona, which happened last season too. And I had to move all the tournament or all the matches. And then I apologized because then one of the tournaments was canceled. And so instead of like trying to get them all back at Pictona, I said, please just play where they're scheduled. So there's a lot of moving parts and we just need to be flexible, but for the most part, we're going to keep most of our matches on these days. Okay, here's something new coming up that you might want to write down. Team registration has been open, but player registration opened yesterday, December 16th, and that's going to continue on. The team registration originally was supposed to end, I think, the 22nd or 23rd of December, but they've extended that a week. Okay, they've extended the team registration. So if there's anybody on the call or hears this after today that's kind of on the fence about starting up a team, you still have a little bit more time to think about it, but December 30th for sure is the deadline. After that, no more new teams can start because they have to work on the schedule. Here's another change. League matches are going to begin the week of January 13th. So I think originally it was the week of the 4th or 5th, but now it's going to be pushed back a week. So please go ahead and make a note of that. As far as player registration goes, that is going to stay open for about the first month of the season. So what happens is sometimes, we've got some snowbirds that might not be back in town yet, or maybe you thought your roster was okay with 8 people on it, but now you're realizing, gosh, I really need some more people. So even after the season begins, players can still be added to your roster. And I want to say it's till about February 5th or so. Don't quote me on that date, but you do have some wiggle room with that. So if you look at this next screen here, this is what you'll see on the league website right now. And I'm sure they're gonna update it in the next day or so. We just got these new dates last night at a league coordinators meeting. But one thing I do want to point out is this is going to be a longer season than what we just had in the fall. And the reason I really want to emphasize that is because some of you might have experienced that as time goes on, things are going to happen with your team that are unexpected. There could be some injuries, there could be some unexpected travel or whatnot. And so you need to make sure that you have a roster with enough people that will get you through this full season, including the regional playoffs, possibly, and even the state playoffs. Here is something new that was not implemented in the fall season. There was no playoffs in the fall season, but there is this winter season. There is a rule that any of your players that play in playoffs, So after the regular season's over, your team's moving forward, they can only play in the playoffs if they played at least 12 games during the regular season. So 12 games is equivalent to 2 full matches. They don't have to play 2 full matches like in their entirety. They could play, maybe they came in as a sub for 1 round in a match. And then 2 weeks later, they played 4 games. And then the next week they played 6 games. So the matches don't have to be 6 games, a full match, just as long as it adds up to 12 games during the regular season to advance to playoffs. So my point in saying that is a lot of teams, especially since this is the competitive season, they're going to want to be playing their rock stars. They're going to want to be playing their best players each match, but you cannot forget about the rest of your team and making sure they're eligible for playoffs, because if one of your better players ends up injured right at the end of the season, and now all you have is 5 eligible players, that's not going to help you for the playoffs. And by the way, the playoffs, you'll be playing probably 4 to 6 full matches. So that's, a full match is 6 games. So on one single day, your players could have to play 12 games or more. And so that's hard for one single player to do. So you're going to want to have depth to bring in additional players to play in these playoff matches. It's pretty rigorous. From those of us that maybe have done that before, I think you would agree. Does anybody have any questions? Let me stop for a second and just give a chance. Is there any questions in the chat, or does anybody want to just ask a question?
I have a question. This is Ray Crowley.
Okay.
In the playoff with the 12 game, perhaps more, will the substitution rules be the same, do you think?
They will be the same.
Yeah.
They will be the same. And we're going to go over the substitution rules in a little while, but they will be the same. In other words, if you take a player out, they can't come back in for that match. Now, let's say you're playing a second match on the same day, then they could come back in for that next match. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So those are just some of the dates and whatnot. So let's go back. I want to piggyback off of what Chris said earlier. Captains are essential to this happening, and I really appreciate all of you stepping up. Most of the time when players ask me about the league and they want to be on a team, I'm like, well, our teams are full right now, but would you like to start a team and be a captain? I can help you. And most of them say no. So those of you that are captaining and co-captaining, we really appreciate it, because a lot of us are having a great time with the league, but without a captain, you can't have a team. And if there's no teams, there's no league. I want to emphasize the word communicator here. I think, in my experience, the most important part of being the captain is bringing the team together with all the communication. And that can be pretty difficult with 12 people. If you have 12 people on your roster, it's kind of like they say herding cats. I do want to recommend, if you're not already, using some kind of communication tool such as TeamReach. There are other apps, but I think TeamReach tends to be the most common one that a lot of us are using. We have the captains in TeamReach, and if there's anybody on this call that's not already, we'll get you in there, because I'll see your name coming up as captains and co-captains when registration's going on. But if you're like me, I get a lot of texts from family and other friends and outside people, not just pickleball, And if I'm relying on just text messages, everything is getting all mixed into my text messages, same thing with my emails. And so I really need just a one place to go, like, okay, I know this is where all my pickleball stuff is. So if you have been a captain and you're having a hard time, like kind of keeping up with your team and you're not using something like this, I highly recommend it. Team Reach is great because you can put your matches on there in the calendar feature. Your team can respond with their availability, yes or no. You can poll your players, you know, who can practice on Wednesday, and they can say yes or no. It's a fabulous tool. So that I'm highly recommending that for captains. Another tool is the tennis scores. So some of you have noticed that the league website, if you're using a phone, it's very difficult to navigate. But a lot of websites are like that. If you're certain websites, if you're navigating on a little phone, they are difficult to navigate. If you're on a laptop, I think the league website is just fine to navigate. And I'll show you how to do that tonight. But if you're on a phone, it's tricky. Maybe you're trying to hurry up and look up your schedule. Are you the home team? Are you the away team? Were the scores put in? What are the ratings now? And you're on your phone. So the Tennis Scores app is fantastic for this. So if you haven't been using that, I highly recommend the Tennis Scores app, and notice it's Tennis Scores with just one S. But if you look for this blue, green, orange little thing, that's it. And you'll want to, you know, when it says like search league, put in Volusia, and you can mark it as your favorite. So every time you pull it up, it'll go into Volusia. Does anybody have a question on the Team Reach or tennis scores? Okay. Okay.
I have one question, please.
Yes. Yes.
When it comes to downloading those schedules, not scheduled, but the score sheet,
Mm-hmm.
I've had a hard time trying to download that and trying to enter the scores on it.
We'll go over that later in the presentation.
I have a whole section that we're gonna go over how to enter scores.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I stepped on your toes.
No. Now, you cannot enter the scores, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, on tennis scores. You have to enter the scores on the league website. Am I saying that correct, everybody?
Basically, the tennis scores is like you can look at your players and their rating and the schedule. That's what that's for. If you know, instead of using the FTPL website. Once again, the tennis scores is used to look at your players' rating, other teams, and their schedule.
But it's not really where you're gonna put the scores in.
Right.
Okay, but we do have a section on entering scores. Okay, so once again, captains, there are several resources, and without dragging this meeting out for a long time tonight, which I don't think anybody wants me to do, I'm gonna just show you where these resources are, but after tonight on your own time, it's really a good idea to go back and look at these resources and read through them carefully and know how to get back to them. It's not like you have to like memorize, you know, what to do. As long as you know how to find the resource and go back to it, you can remind yourself, oh yeah, that's how I do that. But just knowing that the resources exist and knowing where that you can get back to them. So right now I'm on the main ftpli.org website. And again, this is easier on a computer than, I mean, you can use your phone for this. It's just a little harder to find. But on the laptop, resources. So there is a team captain training. So when I click on that, there is a video here. If you've never watched the team captain training video, I highly recommend it. Now, a lot of the same information as what we're going over tonight, but they walk you through, and maybe it'll hit with you differently the way they're explaining some things from the video. It's 20 minutes, I believe. Okay, so that is available for captains, and especially if you are a brand new captain, first season, brand new captain, I highly recommend watching the video. Then there is a section on captain responsibilities. And I went ahead and opened all these tabs so that they wouldn't bog me down and take too long to open. So if you were to open that, here's what it's going to look like. And again, I'm not going to read every word of this, but they talk about creating a roster, getting your team registered. Once your registration closes, the schedules are posted during the season. Okay, so there's like points here for captain responsibilities and co-captains. Captains, get your co-captains to help you. Delegate. We want this to be fun for everybody and not a job. So get some help and delegate. Okay, and then back on the resources page, there's another one called the Captain's Team Guide. So here's that. So the Captain's Team Guide. This is very important for, sorry, my dog is running back and forth. I don't know if you guys can hear that. She's very wanting to play right now. But in this Captain's Guide, it's going to show you how to create your account with a password if you don't already have one, how to communicate with members of your team. Now, I use TeamReach, but you can use the league website. There is some tools there for communicating with your team. How to send match availability forms to your team, communicate with other captains. I prefer TeamReach. The most important thing on this one is step 8, entering scores. So if I was to scroll to the last page of this guide, you can go back and look at all these other sections, but all the way down to part 8, and my pictures aren't loading as quickly. That's what those little exclamation points are, but I think they will load if given more time. But right down here, I'm almost there, entering scores. So there will be some graphics and there will be bullet points, exactly what to do for entering scores. I'm going to demonstrate this in a little while, but I'm just showing you, here is the guide, here are the steps. If you forgot what to do, you can look this back up. No one's expected to always remember exactly what to do, but we should be able to, be able to go back and say, oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so all of this is available. And again, my pictures aren't loading because I probably have too many tabs open and this is not a great computer. Okay, now back under resources. So we have a captain's training tab. We have responsibilities. We have the team captain's guide. You're going to need score sheets. We'll talk more about the score sheets coming up, but you're gonna need to print your own score sheets out. And I would print one up for every game, even if you're not the home team. It's best practice for both teams to keep the score. Both teams should be keeping the score. Game day protocol. This is another thing, especially if you're a new captain, that walks you through step by step how these matches work. Games to 11, teams change sides after each game, official, one timeout per game. I'm not going to read everything on here because it is a lot. It is a lot. But if you forget, okay, how does this work again? What do we do? When do we change sides? That's the game day protocol. Okay, a lot of us are getting experienced in the league and we help each other, remind each other of these things. So that's great when we're working together like that. And then there's the rules, and we're going to get to the rules in a minute. There's a lot of rules. Okay, so there's a few other resources here, but the ones that I just showed you are going to be the most frequently used resources. Okay, does anybody have a question on how to get to the resources? Okay, so let me see what I have next. So that was Captain's Guide, Captain's Responsibilities. Okay. So you're the captain, you know where to get to your information. Probably the most difficult part of getting your team started is making sure your team is eligible, the roster requirements. None of these have changed. I know there was an email from Diane that said one thing. However, I will tell you, it was just a strong recommendation. There has been no changes to the rules about how the teams can be made up. Okay, so if you know what I'm talking about, it's not the case. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. But first of all, we have to know, your team is a certain level, skill level, 2-5, 3-0, 3-5, 4-0. And then your team is going to be defined by age. So 14 and over is 14 all the way as high as you can want to go. 50 is 50 and over, as high as you want to go. 65 is 65 plus. Okay, and these ages are what they're going to be in 2025. So if someone is 49 right now, but they're going to be turning 50 in 2025, then they can be on a 50 and over team. If they're 64 right now and their birthday is in February or their birthday is next October, they can be on your team because they're going to turn that age in 2025.
Let me
Okay.
go back. Hold on.
Yes.
If you're 13 turning 14 in October, that's fine too.
Yes.
However, you have to have your parents show up to that.
Yes.
The guardian show up to the match. You just can't drop the kid off.
True. Thank you, Chris.
14.
Thank you for reminding about that. That is true. Parents are to stay with minors during these matches. And it'd be great if we had some younger folks. I'd love to see that. Okay, so here's the heart of the matter that we all have to just make sure of. So the rule of thumb, and this is in the rules, but I think it's stated easier to understand right here. At least half of your roster must be in the skill rating. So if you're registering a 3-5 team, that means 3-5 up to 3.99. Okay, even though we just say 3-5, that includes 3-5 up to 3.99. 4-0 is up to 4.49. 3-0 is 3-0 up to 3.49. And by the way, there is no rounding up. We've been asked that question a few times. So the question is, well, this player's a 3.99. Can we just round them up so they're a 4-0? The answer is no. There is zero rounding up. It's very strict. Half of your roster, however, can be below the skill rating. So let's say that someone is a 3.75. They can play on a 4-0 team, as long as that 4-0 team has half of their roster 4-0 to 4.49. So they can have unders. They can have half of their roster under, as long as the other half is within the skill rating. Now, we should have had it on here. I notice it's not on here. No one can play on a team that's 2 skill levels below. So if you're a 3.49, you cannot be on a 4.0 team. If you're a 2.9, you cannot be on a 3.5 team. Okay, so that's very strict as well. And then of course, no one can play above their skill rating. So if you're a 4.0 on the dot, you cannot play on a 3.5 team. If you're a 3.5 on the dot, you cannot play on a 3.0 team. Okay, now this is where we have to really know how to find this information. So it's the,
Steve, before we move on, I have a question.
okay, speak up though, I can't hear it very good.
What if you are a 3-3? Can you be on two teams? Can you be on a 3-0 and a 3-5?
Yes. You can be on a 3.0 team if you're a 3.3 because you're in that skill level. And you can be on a 3.5 team also as long as that 3.5 team has half of their team in the skill level. So you can be on two teams in different skill levels. We have some players that are on 2 or 3 teams. You know, they might be on 2 women's teams. They might be on like a 3.0 50 and over team and a 3.5 50 and over team, women's.
And how would that affect playoffs?
Well, if both of those teams made the playoffs, if both of the teams you're on made the playoffs, you would have to choose one over the other. You cannot be in the playoffs on more than one team.
All right.
Okay, so if you were so lucky to be on 2 teams that made the playoffs, you would have to designate which team you're going to be on for playoffs. Okay, now player ratings. This is very important. Do not take anybody's word for what they say their rating is. So if you meet someone new on the court, they say, "Oh yeah, I'm a 3.7 player." Please do not take their word for it. You have to go and do the research. You have to go and look them up. So let's say that they said they've played in the league before. They weren't on your team before, but they said, "Oh yeah, I've played in the league. I'm a this." Please look them up. So I'm going to show everybody right now, and I think you'll really like this. You might not have known this existed. How to look up a player in the league. So I'm on the home page again. I'm going to go to regions. We are Northeast. Okay, and I don't know why it makes me tell it again, but Northeast again. And now Volusia. We have other parts to Northeast. So Volusia. I'm looking up a player in Volusia. By the way, maybe you met someone that played in Flagler last season. We have a lot of people, because Flagler is so close to Volusia, that come back and forth. So then you could click on Flagler to do what I'm about to do. But let's say it's Volusia. So I met this guy named Chris Knight. And he told me he was a such and such. And I'm trying to make sure, like, okay, is this for real? I don't want to mess my team roster up. So when I get here, there's a search tool right here. Click on that search and type in the player's name, Chris Knight, and click player search. Now notice there's more than one Chris Knight. So I think they actually put the Flagler players on here too, by the way. There's more than one Chris Knight. And so he had to put an X with his name to differentiate that he's Chris Knight from Volusia. But so right here in the middle, there is something called player card. You click on player card. This is all the matches they've ever played in. If I was to scroll all the way down. Oops, do that. So you can go back and look at your own player card. Maybe you want to do that. But this is what you're looking for right here in the upper right-hand corner. This is Chris's current player rating. You might encounter someone that didn't play this past fall, but they played the winter before, the winter of 2024. And they might not remember their rating. Gosh, I don't know my rating. That was a whole year ago. You can find them by looking up their player card that I just did. And this will be their league rating. The league rating never goes away, even if they don't play consecutive seasons. It's going to be right there. Okay, are there any questions on how to find a league rating?
Leslie, I'll answer your question. I emailed regional coordinator about that. So I'm waiting for him to get back with me on that.
What was the question? I couldn't see the question.
It says Live Oak Beachtown Boys 50 plus has Mike McKenna rating chosen at 4.0. Is that allowed
yeah.
for a 4.0 to play 3.5?
Yeah, he clicked on the wrong thing when he registered,
Yeah,
and we're trying to get it fixed for him.
he doesn't have a rating, and he's,
Yeah, he doesn't have a rating, but he sometimes when you're registering, you think you click on something and it accidentally clicked on the other thing, and that's what he did.
yeah.
Okay, so back to, let's look at this again. So when you're building up your roster, what takes precedent over anything is the league rating. So once they've been in the league, you don't look at anything else. I don't care if their duper is a whole level above their league rating, you're still going to use their league rating. Okay, duper and pickleball brackets are irrelevant for existing league players. Okay, but let's say you found a player and they weren't ever in the league. This is going to be their first season in the league. So then we're going to ask the player, okay, well, have you ever played in a tournament? And if they say yes, then we have to look up their rating in some other system. The two most common systems are duper or pickleball brackets, but there are some other ones. So I would say start with duper or pickleball brackets. The other ones are going to be very rare. Okay. So I'm researching my player. I really want this person on my team, but I've got to make sure that they are, in my skill level. So again, Chris volunteered to let me use his duper. So you're going to go to duper. There is an app that you can put on your phone, but or you can just duper.com on the regular computer. You do have to be logged in. So you have to have a duper account and you have to be logged in to look up other players. So I am logged in right now. I see my profile picture up here. So I'm going to search players, Chris Knight. Now, again, be careful because look at this that just came up. There's a lot of other Chris or Christopher Knights. And that could be the same when you're looking up, Mary Smith or some other common name. You have to be very careful that you're getting the right player. Okay, so here's Chris. So what I'm seeing is that his current duper rating doubles. We're not looking at singles. Forget about singles. This is doubles. Is 3.936. So if he is getting onto a 3-5 team, he's cutting it really close. By the way, this number is the reliability score. The more matches you play, the higher that number is going to go up. So this is almost 100% reliable of his duper. You're going to look up some people and it will say a 1 right there. It's like 1% reliable because maybe they've only ever played one little thing. Okay, but whatever that is, that's what it is. The league doesn't really say, oh, don't use that because it's only 1% reliable. If they have a duper and that's their highest rating, that's what you're going to use. But I want to show you something. I am not going to stop researching here. Just because I found a rating, just because I found Chris has a duper, I still have to keep looking because I want to make sure, is this his highest rating? So now I'm going to go over to pickleball brackets. Now, again, you have to be logged in on pickleball brackets, which I went ahead and logged in to save time. Up here at the top, you're going to click on players. It'll come up to home, right? This is where you search for tournaments and all. But right here, there's a button called players. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to search. Make sure you got the right player because there might be more than one. Like you can see here, there's a lot. Oh, gosh. Which one are you, Chris? Is it this one? USA? I think this is you. Sometimes it's hard to tell because this just says USA. A lot of times, like if you click on the games that they played, it'll show you where they played. And that, I think it'll, yep, Florida Senior. Oh yeah, Chris played in Florida Senior games. So sometimes you can tell if it's the right person based on where it was. If it's a little tricky looking, click on their actual games and see if it says like Pictona or something you're familiar with, that's probably the right person. But let me go back because I want to show you something about his pickleball scores. Okay. So notice here that let's pretend I looked up pickleball brackets first. Okay, I looked up pickleball brackets first. Notice he's got 17. You got to look right here for a number. So he has played 17 doubles, and this is his rating. The smaller number, not 3-5, but the one under it, that would be the rating. Don't look at future. This is just this computer system like projecting, oh, he's probably going to be this before too long. But you have to look at the 17 games. This is his rating. Now, don't stop there because that is his gender doubles. That's when he played with another male, like men's doubles. You also have to check mixed. So over here, he's got 30 games. Man, he must have had a terrible partner. They're only 3.3. So I'm not going to use that score. Average. What's that?
That's my grade point average.
So you're looking for the highest score. So it's not 3.3, 3.6, but we noticed over here on Duper, it's actually 3.9. So you are going to go with the highest doubles or mixed doubles score you see. Now, this isn't the best example, but I want you guys to know this. Down here under the skinny singles, do you see how it says number of games 0? Sometimes when you research a player, it'll say 0 for these doubles. You cannot use any numbers that might be, like it says 0 here, but then over here it says 3.3. So that is not a rating. I don't know why it does that, but if it says 0 games, don't use any of the data in that section. Only use the data where games are something above 0. Only use the ratings. Okay.
If you notice under the skinny singles in red, it will say self-rate. So if it says self-rate, then probably they don't have any game.
Right. Okay. So I don't know if, some people already know this, and some people might not have noticed some of these little differences. Now, let's pretend I looked up Duper, I looked up pickleball brackets, I didn't find anything at all. Then I'll show you in a minute, there are some other sites that you can go to look for a rating. If the player said, yeah, I've been in a tournament, if they say, no, I've never been in a tournament, and no, I've never played in the league, then they probably legit have no rating at all. And that's part 3 here, captains and coordinator rating. And I'm feeling like we're getting to the point in the league where enough people have played in the league or tournaments where most of the people you encounter are going to have either number 1 or 2. But captains, because I'm trying not to drag this out for too long, if you encounter a player that has no kind of data, that's where please reach out to your coordinator. Lisa for women's, me for mixed, Chris for men's, and we will help you figure out what we're going to do for their captain's rating so that they can register for your team. Okay, is there anyone who has a question about ratings? I will say, if you don't do your research and you're just kind of haphazard and you weren't careful and you made a mistake, another team is going to find your mistake. Especially for the winter season, everybody seems, they want to make sure that this is all fair, and I don't blame everybody. So they'll be looking up other teams' ratings and they'll be kind of digging to make sure you did your homework and that it's all fair and good to go. So sometimes we get notified, hey, this player's showing up as a this on the website, but over here, this was this. Okay, now with that being said, once the season begins, and a player plays in a tournament and their duper goes up, you can't hold that team accountable because people are going to keep getting, their ratings are going to change as our league season goes on. Okay, so sometimes that happens, but what that person doesn't know is, well, before the league started, their duper was only a 3.0, but they just played this tournament and now it's a 3.4. And yeah, it was correct when they registered for the league. Okay, now team worksheet. So all this research that you're doing is gonna be documented on a team worksheet. And we need to figure out how to get these worksheets to you. Since I'm not here to give it to you right now, we'll either email them or put them on TeamReach and you can print one out, or we'll get a stash of them. And as we see you here and there around, we'll get you a team worksheet. Or you can just start writing this stuff down on notebook paper and then transfer it onto the worksheet if we don't see you right away. But you're going to be filling out a team worksheet. So this is a team called Cartoon World. This is a women's doubles, 3, 5, 50 and over. Actually, looks like mixed doubles, 50 and over, Northeast Volusia. So on this example, you can see Bugs Bunny is the captain, Lola Bunny is the co-captain. You're going to designate who your leaders are. You're going to be putting down their age, and we'll fix the worksheet. Right now, it's 1224. We're going to update so that when we print out the new ones, it'll say 1225 for you. You'll put down the age they're going to be by 2025. Now, notice on this example, most of these players, as I mentioned before, have already been playing in the league. And that makes it really easy because that's just cut and dry. But Jerry Mouse over here the captain did have to do some research. They found their duper was their highest. Velma, pickleball brackets was their highest. Daisy Duck and Strawberry Shortcake had no data. So with this little check mark over in the league coordinators column, that's your saying, yes, I talked to the league coordinator about this. We came to an agreement that this would be their rating. And so then that would be documented on the team worksheet. Okay, now notice these other ones, UPTR, WPR, UTR-P. Those are the other websites I told you were a little less used. So if your player tells you, yes, I was in a tournament, but you don't find it on Duper or Pickleball Brackets, then go ahead and use those other sites. If they're just sure they have a rating somewhere, you can look at those. But they're not going to be used that much. Okay, here's a date for you. Please write this down. We need these team worksheets turned in by January 4th. That is the week before the matches are going to start. So the league coordinators, we are given the task of checking the worksheets. And I can tell you that I just kind of spot check them. I'll just like do a random check. I'll pick a couple names off the rosters and check them because it's a lot for us. I mean, we're up to about 30 teams now. So we really don't have the time to look up every player, but we will spot check them. Remember, the other teams are probably looking them up too. But this will be what we turn in for your team if and when you make the playoffs. And the people at that point, the state coordinators will verify the rosters and make sure they are legit at the time of the state playoffs. Now, the best way to get these to us is to take a picture of your roster, and you can text us the picture, email us the picture, put it on Team Reach. Don't put a private message on Team Reach. Just get it to us by January 4th, or you can photocopy it and hand it to us in person. Now, let's say by January 15th, you've added a new player. You're going to go ahead and write them in on your worksheet. Send us a new picture, and we will discard the old one and put in the new one. Thank you. Are there any questions about the team worksheet? So we're going to update. By the way, there is one under the resources. You might have seen this. Let me do this really quick. Over here under resources, that's what they're calling the team roster here. So you could get one off of there, but Dave Turco, who retired from his position as our regional coordinator, he did this one for us, which is a little bit, I like the layout of it better. So if you like the layout of this one better too, we will update it and we'll send it as like an attachment through Team Reach or email and get it to you, or we'll print them out.
Also, if you notice, there is one rating per column. There's not 2 or 3 different numbers per person. So beware of that. Just put in one number per person, or one rating per person.
Right. So the league rating trumps everything if they have a league rating, but then you're only filling out one number for whatever their rating is. Sometimes we get worksheets and every one of these boxes is filled in. And then we have to sit there and kind of go cross-eyed trying to figure out, oh, which one's the highest one? Okay, so just one number. Okay, any questions on that so far? So
Yes, I have one question, please.
yes.
When you said we can add someone after that January the 13th, someone wanted to add someone else on January the 15th.
Yes.
What is considered a late day of adding someone?
Okay, so that's what I was saying before. Don't quote me on the date. I'll update you guys as I remember for sure. I'll send it on Team Reach or whatever. But it seems like it's going to be around the beginning of February. They usually leave player registration open for about the first month of the season. So someone could get added to your roster after you've already played 4 matches.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if you get in a bind and you realize, oh gosh, my roster, well, I need more players. there's some flexibility at the beginning of the season, but once that date comes, I want to say the beginning of February, then it's closed and you can't add anybody else. Okay, so you've got your players, you know they're legit, they work well with your skill rating, they're going to be on your team. So now your players have to get registered. And you, by the way, captains, you have to register for your own team too. Just because you registered the team, you then have to register as a player as well. Okay, so let's go over registration. So I'm back on the main website, the home page. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit to the Get Started button. Okay, so if you've already registered a team, this is where you had to go to register the team. And if there's anybody on the call that hasn't registered a team yet, you'll go to Get Started in the first section here. The first section, are you the captain of a team, registering your team? You'll click there and you'll fill out the team registration. There's no fee involved at that point. But now, let's say your team has been registered and now players are ready to sign up. They will go to this middle section. Are you a player that's been recruited to play on a team? So only people that have been recruited to play on a team should do this. Every once in a while, captains, you're going to see a name on your roster, somebody you have no idea who that is. They went on and just registered for your team and they should not have done that. If you find someone on your roster, they're not supposed to be there, you let your league coordinator know and we will get them off your roster. What that person should have done is come over here to the player seeking a team. The player seeking a team. And that's where we get a list of those people. They should not be signing up for a team unless a team has invited them. And that's where we, as the coordinators, try to connect them to you if you need a player. Okay. But this middle section is for legit players. They're supposed to be on your team. We're going to click on this. Now, when we click on this, directions come up. Okay, these directions come up. So I'm not going to read all the directions, but basically, you're going to click on regions. Well, say we're going to click on regions. Here we go. Regions, Northeast Florida. We are in Northeast Florida. Okay, regions, Northeast Florida. We are Volusia. This is all in those directions, by the way. Okay, now when I get here, I'm in Northeast Florida. I want to click on forms. Okay, I'm going to click on forms. And this is registration forms. 2025 winter season. Okay, that's what we're registering for. So what I want to do is, it says, if you are a current player, enter your name or part of your name to register. But then look below. If you are new to the system, click here to fill out the form. So returning players are going to type in their name. Brand new players are going to click on this bottom line. Okay, I'm a returning player. So here I am, Deanne Mead, registered. Okay, I'm going to go through, put in all my information. There's going to be a section for team. There's a drop-down menu. Now notice every team in our region, because we've got St. John's, we've got Flagler, is on here. So you just keep on going down to Volusia and you're going to look for your team. So here's my team. You select your team. Okay, put in your birthday, put in your gender. Okay, this is important. Captain. Are you the captain? If you're the captain, pick yes. If you're not, it defaults to no. If you're the co-captain, you need to say yes. And the reason this is important is the only people that are going to be allowed to make accounts, the captain accounts, are if you selected yes, you're a captain or a co-captain, and those are the only people that will be able to put scores in and things like that. So you definitely make sure if you're a captain or co-captain, you gotta say yes. I have no idea what this is about I'm a substitute player. Just keep it on no. Because anybody that registers for your team is a player. Okay, just leave that on no. I don't really know why that's on there. Leave it on no. Now, the next one, rating source. If they had a league rating or Duper, Pickleball Brackets, or one of those other ones, that's national. If they have captain, where there was no data, you talk to the league coordinator, you figured it out, then then your player will pick captain. Okay. Most of your people are going to be picking national. Rating. They're putting in their rating of the team skill level that they're registering for. This is not their specific rating. Okay, this is just the rating of the team. So let's say 3-5. Now, let's pretend they put in captain and 3-5. When they register, you're going to see on your roster, their rating is going to come up to a 0.00. And it's going to stay 0.00 until your league coordinator gets together with our regional coordinator and tell them your rating. So that's why it's important for the league coordinators and the captains to be chatting continuously about these ratings, especially for non-rated players. So we can notify the regional manager, hey, Susie Q, you can put her in as a such and such. And they are the only ones that can put that rating in. I can't even fix it. Chris can't fix it. Lisa can't fix it. So don't be alarmed when it shows up as a 0.00. We will get it taken care of.
Deanna, if you go back to I'm a substitute player, I think that's for like if you're going to nationals or something like that. And for example, Tony's example, you know what I mean? When you had to go register for Fit to Dink.
Oh, okay. So yes, I understand what you're saying. So we're not worried about that right now because we don't know who's going to any kind of playoff. So everybody, please tell your players to keep it on. Keep it on no. Keep it on no. Okay.
For right now, yeah.
For right now. Okay. Then you're gonna check the box that you've agreed to the waiver. If you want to read the waiver, click on the waiver. Click on this link and you can read the waiver. When you click register, which I'm not going to do right now, the next screen is going to take you to your payment. So that's where you can just follow the prompts and you'll put in for your payment. It's $35 for this season. Okay. Now, again, that's a lot. That was a lot, but that's where we have, I don't know which tab it was, the directions. The directions will be on here. And I will post the directions in TeamReach, like a little mini copy. I don't know what happened to my computer. My computer and I don't get along very well. I don't like this computer too much. Hold on a second. Okay.
While Dean's fixing that, you notice $35 is a pretty good price. And if you're playing in 12 matches, if you divide that into 35, that's almost $3 a game. And you probably be playing more than 12 games. So, you know, if you sign up for a regular tournament like the PPA or the APP, they're going to charge you, what, $100 plus this? So, you know, the price is pretty good.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So you guys are talking about how important the specific individual player rating is and how much research is needed and such. when a player goes in to register on the FTPLI site and they've selected the team, that obviously is indicating the rating of the team. Why on the bottom, when you would assume that that's supposed to be a player rating, why is it not set up like that? And where do you enter the player rating into the FTPLI site? It's only on the worksheet?
Okay, so if you are a returning league player, when you register, it's already knows your rating and it's gonna post your rating on the roster, on like the website roster. Okay, if you have a duper or the captain's rating, the league coordinators have to report that information. So it'll show up as a 0.00 until we report that information. So I don't, why they don't have a place for that, I don't know. I think that it's maybe to safeguard people from just going in there and putting in what they really want it to be. But we verify that and we report it so that then the person above me puts it in. It's just the way it's set up.
That's a lot of manual effort.
It is. It is. I agree. Okay, any other questions about ratings? I see there's a couple things in the chat. Chris, what's in the chat?
Leslie, go ahead, Rob, go ahead and state your question.
Sorry, I can't see the chat.
Rob? Okay, Rob's
Is he
question.
muted? Is he muted?
You're good, I can hear you.
Chris, can you just read the question?
Yeah. The question is, can you clarify, as stated, that 13 teams in Volusia are hosted or home court at Pictona? Also, clarify how many teams are not hosted at Pictona.
Well, right now it's hard to say because team registration is still going on. But let me pull it up on my phone over here.
I'm gonna say maybe.
You want to know how many teams are at Pictona? We have Untouchables. We have A-Team. We have Nethawks, Ball Busters. We have Hammer Time, Pickleball Bulldogs. We have Sweet Heat 2. We have Pickalicious 2. We have Golden Girls. We have Sweet Heat, Friday Girls, Battle Axes, Court Queens, Blazing Paddles. All of those teams right this minute, and we're not done with registration. We have quite a few.
Hey, this is Chris. If you have, I have a question.
Yes.
If someone has already registered as a team member and they entered some information incorrectly, can that be edited?
Absolutely.
But can it be edited by that person?
No. You
Okay.
need
You have to
to,
get with one of us.
Okay. Yeah, I think people put down captains when they had a league rating, so they put down captain's rating when it should have been national.
as long as they're showing up on your roster with the correct rating, it's okay.
Okay. And then if they're showing up with a 0 rating, then I need to reach out to you to get them rated somehow, right?
Right. And that, yes. But if you know their rating from Duper or something,
Then I can just let you know they put down that I do have their Duper rating and edit it accordingly.
right. And that's why we need to have the worksheets by January 4th. So we can make sure all the ratings are input to the system correctly before the week of January 13th when matches begin.
Okay,
I
got
mean,
it.
if you've got your worksheet earlier than that, it would be ideal to get it to us so that we can go ahead and get your team taken care of.
And you think you can get us the worksheets by when?
Well, give us a chance to edit the worksheet. I think Chris has it on his computer.
Okay,
And then we'll get it out to you guys either by email or we'll drop some off at Pictona or something. We'll get them out.
and if we do know that we have one or two people that have never played in a tournament and never played in a league, we need to get you that information so you can somehow get them rated.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Okay, now let's keep moving ahead. So let's pretend, okay, we've got all these registrations are done. They've put out the schedules. We're ready to play. All right, how are we going to find our schedule? Okay. So again, if you have that tennis scores app, it might be a little easier. But on the league website, we always go to regions. Northeast Florida, Volusia. Okay, now on this page right here, this is where some people might not have seen. Notice right here, whoopsie, there is a drop-down menu. Okay, there's a drop-down menu right here. And please be careful because they have 2024 season. I've asked for that to be removed. They have the fall season, which we just finished. But then down here are the new seasons. Okay, this is where you're going to go to look for your schedule. Now, right now, I'm going to find my division. What am I? Women's doubles. I'm women's doubles. Where is it? Women's doubles 50 and over. Right now, these are the teams registered. There might be more by the time we're done. When I click on Sweet Heat, notice I don't have a schedule. That's because the schedule hasn't been put out yet. But after December 30th, there will be. And then there's even a little tool where you can print the schedule. Okay, so your schedule is going to be there. You can also access your schedule on Tennis Scores app. Okay, now, captains, it is very important, and we're getting better at this, but it's very important that when we do see our schedule, and remember, women, unless you're 65 and over, you're going to be playing on Saturdays. Men, you're going to be playing on Saturdays. Mixed, you're going to be playing on Sundays for the most part. I've already polled my team. I've already predicted when my matches are going to be on the Saturdays, and I've already put it out there. As early as you can, you want to poll your team for availability. It's the right thing to do. You cannot wait until like the week before to see who's playing and then, oh, I don't have enough players. Oh, let me see if this other team can make a schedule change. That is not fair. You have to put it out there, poll your team as soon as you can for your matches. See that you're going to have enough people. Most people know their travel plans, things like that. Now, sometimes there are emergencies. I get it. There's emergencies, and that's just going to be very few and far between instances where you might have to reach out to the captain and say, hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't see this coming. We're going to have to reschedule. We don't have enough people. But all in all, you should know well ahead of time if you can field a team on the day of your matches. And if you can't, then the other captain should do their due diligence to work with you to see about when can we play. Okay, captains, we have to make it happen. We have to make it happen. But we want to be fair about it too. And you can't be, letting someone know 2 days ahead of time, oh, my team's injured, I can't play. And then what? That's not really fair. And then you're kind of looking at a forfeit. So please, as soon as the schedules come out, get with your team, look ahead, make sure you're good to go. And again, a lot of the players are playing in tournaments. So I did tell her, I told our scheduler, I think her name is Stephanie. Is it Stephanie or Mindy, Chris? Stephanie, Mindy.
Mindy.
Mindy. I told her when the tournaments were, and I tried to let her know, definitely don't schedule anything at Pictona then. But I mean, those situations, we might end up having to play on a Monday or a Tuesday because the whole weekend was taken up with the tournament. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but try to be flexible with each other and work with each other on the tournaments. Okay, now let's say that there does have to be some rescheduling. I hope you guys don't mind, but I really want us to look at this rescheduling policy. This is in the league rules too. Okay, so rescheduling policy. I'm in the league rules. It's section 8. Section 8. Right here. Most of the time, rescheduling is going to be due to weather. And we had a lot of weather last season. And who knows what we could have this season. We live in Florida. Okay, so captains should know well in advance if they can field the 3 lines for their matches. They need to work with each other in good faith to make reasonable efforts to accommodate requests during the rescheduling time frame. All non-related rescheduling should be done with the league coordinator. If for any reason not related to weather, a captain cannot field 3 lines for a match, the captain will need to contact the opposing team captain as soon as possible. If both captains can agree on a different week, the match can be played in that week. If captains cannot agree on a makeup date, the league coordinator will work to establish a date. So let's say you and the other captain, you just can't figure it out. Send it to us. We'll help you figure it out. And then let her see here. If the captain still can't agree to the league coordinator's idea, then a forfeit of any unplayed games from the opposing team will earn 36 match points. I'm trying to read this fast. Okay, now this is the big one, weather. Matches due to inclement weather is warranted in cases of rain and or sustained winds of 25 miles per hour. The home captain shall not cancel a match due to weather any sooner than 2 hours prior to a match start time. In the event of a named tropical storm or hurricane, this time frame will be moved to 48 hours prior to start time. Captain shall screenshot the current weather and forward to the league coordinator. Captain shall follow the current FTPLI rescheduling policy. Now, here's one that happened quite a bit last fall. Matches canceled prior to start due to inclement weather must be rescheduled within 7 days. So I don't know about you all, but I look at the forecast. It looks like a beautiful day, 15% chance of rain. I drive to Pictona. I get to Pictona. Boom. The courts are soaking wet. What do you do? Okay. Or you get to Port Orange or wherever. We had this a couple times. And I wasn't really sure what to do. So in the meantime, I have spoken with some of the regional and state coordinators, and it came up, this is going to be added here. The policy will be, if you get to a match and the courts are just drenched, if you can get the courts dry in 30 minutes, then go ahead with your match. However, if it's going to take more than 30 minutes, then each team can decide, no, I can't do that. If one team decides, no, we can't postpone this more than 30 minutes because there's plans going on the rest of the day, then the teams need to reschedule. Okay, so 30 minutes. If you can get the courts dry within 30 minutes, then stay and play your match. Now, if the two teams say, yeah, let's stay, let's get these courts dry. I don't care. It might take us an hour, but we're going to play this match. Both teams are fine with it. Then you can stay and do that as long as you're not going to throw off another match coming in behind you. So keep in mind, there might be another match scheduled right after you. So if you wait an hour to start your match, then that's not fair to the next teams coming in behind you that, oh, wait, we're supposed to be here now. Okay, I hope this is making sense. Now let's look at letter F. Matches canceled after the start due to inclement weather. So let's pretend it wasn't raining when you got there, but you started and it's the first round. You played the first round and now it starts raining. If the first round has been completed and play is discontinued before the second round, play will be rescheduled and replayed at the beginning of the second round. So if you have to reschedule, you just start at the second round. If both the first and second rounds have been completed and the match is discontinued before the third round, the match will be rescheduled and played at the beginning of the third round. When rescheduling beginning third round games, it is not required that the players all convene to play at the same time and location. Captains may arrange for their own independent foursome and report the third round 2 game scores to their captains. So let's say everybody played 2 rounds and now it's raining, it's the third round. You don't have to get the whole team back together just to play 1 round. The 4 people that are supposed to play can just get together on their own and play wherever and whenever they can and report those scores back to the captains. Okay, and then letter G, team lineup after match cancellation. If the match is replayed in its entirety, captains are not required to field the same team lineup. So let's say you have to cancel the match and start all the way over because rain started in the middle of the first round. You're going to have to start all the way over. You don't have to have the same exact team. Okay, if at least 1 round has been completed, the captain may bring in 1 different player in the new lineup to replace a player that's unavailable to play in the rescheduled match, and 1 different player to serve as a substitute for an injured, physical, ailing players. Substitute rules apply. The replacement player will be permitted for the rest of the match. All right, who has a question? That's a lot. That's a lot.
I have one.
Yes.
This is Walter. My question has to do with how you score and rotate when there's a situation when there is a default. The situation being that one of the teams only fielded 4 players and the other team fielded 6. How is that rotated and scored?
Okay, in a few minutes, I'm going to show about the score sheet. But basically, if one team has 6 and the other team has 4, then both teams are only going to play 4 players. And the team that only had 4 is going to have to forfeit the third line or that line. So each team would only play 4 players, and the team that didn't have enough players has to forfeit the other line, and the team that didn't forfeit is going to get the points automatically.
Okay.
Okay. So I know I read through that fast and I was probably skipping a few words, but what I'm getting at, captains, is please read the rules here. No one's expected to remember all of this, but if you get in a situation with this weather and rescheduling, pull this back up, read it over again, like, what do I do now? And reach out to us and we'll help you figure it out. But we live in Florida, it's going to rain. or it's gonna be really windy at times. So there are provisions for all of that. If it rains before the match, after the first round, during the second round, during the third round, it's a little bit different for each scenario. Okay, let me go back and see what I need to do next. Okay. If there's no other questions about rescheduling, I'm going to turn this over to Chris for a minute to talk about some non-officiated playing rules. So go for it.
If y'all can hear me, that's great. Basically, the non-officiated play is a plot. We use usapickleball.org for rules for the league. So that's what we base our league play rules on. I'm just going to read. For non-officiated play, in the spirit of good sportsmanship, players are expected to call any type of fault on themselves as soon as the fault is committed or detected. The fault call must happen before the next serve occurs. So let's say we're volleying at the non-volley zone. You know, I stepped on the kitchen line making a volley. I'm going to call a fault on myself. And that's basically what that basically. Players call all lines on their end of the court, including non-volley zone and service foot fault. Players may call non-volley zone and service foot fault on the opponent's end of the court. If there is any disagreement among players about the called foot fault, a replay shall occur. All right, scroll. For non-officiated matches, if a player believes an opponent has committed any type of fault other than a service or non-volley zone foot fault, as noted, they may mention the specific fault to the opponent, but they have no authority to enforce the fault. The final decision on fault resolution belongs to the player that allegedly committed the fault. So, for example, let me think of another fault. Okay, we're volleying. We're at the non-volley zone, and let's say Ray hits the ball, and it hits the top of the net, and it drops on my side of the court.
Yeah.
Drops on my side of the court. However, my foot is underneath the net, and Ray accuses me of my foot going underneath the net, which is a plane of the net fault. You know, I have to be honest with myself, and let's say I disagreed with Ray. You know, it wasn't a plane of the foot, plane of the net fault. We're going to replay that. But more than likely, I'm going to tell on myself. So, are there any questions?
On you, Chris.
Are there any questions as far as non-officiated play?
Okay, so there's also some ideas about serving. So I don't know if you guys can read this here well enough.
All right. So for zoom out for a minute. For non-officiated play, you're just going to look in the far right column. Receiver determines violation, no upward arc. So if there's swerving from the side of the waist, there's no penalty for that. Paddle head above the wrist, none. Contact above the waist, none. Spin imparted. Replay. Release not visible. Replay. That's on a volley serve. And a drop serve. It may be drop not made with one hand only or from paddle face or not from unaided height. If it was officiated and certain of the violation would have been a fault. But if you notice on non-officiated play, there is none. Ball propelled up or down, none. spin imparted, replay, release not visible, replay. So pretty much any serve that is a spin imparted or release not visible is a replay. Now, if there is a problem with, serves and stuff, you might want to talk to that captain and have that captain talk to that player, probably after the match. Or watch that player, with the serve, like above the waist or whatever. We can't enforce that, but you might want to let them know in case there is an officiated play.
Chris, I have a question. What does spin imparted mean, please?
Spin imparted, like I'm doing a volley serve and I throw the ball up and it rotates because I throw it up and I use my two fingers to put spin on it before I make contact with the ball.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And that goes for a drop serve as well.
So all in all, with these non-officiated rules, if the player, bottom line is, if the player accepts that they did such and such, they stepped in the kitchen, they foot faulted on the serve, that's one thing. But if the player doesn't think they did that, there's no recourse. There's no penalty, there's no fault on them. Okay, same thing with serves, except for the spin imparted and the release not visible, then the recourse is just like replay. Okay, so we can't really, we're not referees, we can't take points away, we can't say, oh, it's second serve, oh, it's side out because you did this or that. We have to go by the non-officiated play USA pickleball rules.
Also, in case let's say one of y'all gets the regionals, you might have a referee. So be aware of that, with the serves and stuff like that. So you have
right.
this.
We want to play correctly. We want to serve correctly. We want to do all those things correctly. And if you did have a referee, you would be faulted. But we can't call faults on our opponents in league play.
So go back, D, real quick. If you want to take a picture of that, you can.
I'm gonna send these into the Team Reach.
Okay.
So when you guys look under pictures in Team Reach, you'll see this. So that way, if you're out on the courts and you can't remember, oh, what do we do? You can pull it up. It'll be right there in your Team Reach under photos. Okay, I'll put those on there for all the different groups. Okay, we're getting there, everybody. I promise we're getting there. All right, keeping and entering scores. So we had some questions about keeping and entering scores. Now, most of us are familiar with how to keep score, but this past season, we had multiple questions. How do I know who won? How can I tell who won the line? Or some captains did not designate the winners of the different lines, and we have to do that. So I just want to remind you, there is a difference between the game score, like right here, Jack and Diane got 11 and Donnie Marie got 4. That's the game score. But the game score translates to the game points. So the winning team gets 2, the losing team gets 0, unless they get 6 or more, then they would get 1. Okay, after game 2 score, you put in game 2 points. Then we're gonna add game 1 and game 2 to get a total for the round, 3 in this case to 2. So when you're putting in scores and you're trying to decide who won the line, you do not look at these scores over here. You don't look at the scores, you look at the game points. So if it's 3-2, in this case, this is the team, the Chiefs, they're the away team. They would win, and you would designate on the website Chiefs win. Okay, right here, 6-11, 11-6. That comes out to a 3-3 tie. So if the numbers right here are the same, that is a tie. You have to put it in as a tie. Okay, don't forget right here on this example, if a game goes really long, usually it's to 11 win by 2. Or if you go beyond 11, it's win by 2. However, if it gets to 15, it's the first team to 15 win, even if it's win by 1. Okay, so that in this case, that's 2-4. So the 4 is the winner. In this example, that is the Bucks. So you have to select the winner for each line in the score sheet. Okay, so here's a full score sheet. It's hard to fit all this on one little page.
Hey, if you can go back to that first page for me.
Mhm.
If you notice, if you go in the subtotal, what I do to make it not confusing, I would circle the subtotal points and do the
Okay.
same thing for round 2 and 3. That way it's easier to add up the numbers.
And earlier, what I was saying is, I think it's best practice if we can all just know I need to have a score sheet with me at every match. I think it's best practice that both teams keep score. And after every round, as Chris was saying, when you get your subtotal, after every round, the scorekeepers should go and check these numbers with each other. Okay, in the competitive season, a team could win by 1 point. It could be that close. So we want to make sure, and when I say win, I mean win for the season and get to advance to playoffs. It could be that close. So we want to be fair to everyone. We want to make sure these scores are accurate. So if both teams can keep score, double check each round. At the end, you're going to sign off with each other. And then the home team is responsible, unless you agree otherwise. The home team should be putting in the scores ASAP so that, because people are going to want to see where they're at soon after. Now, how do we put in scores? I'm going back to home. I'm going back to the web page. I always start with clicking on regions. Northeast, Volusia.
And you gotta make sure you're logged in.
When you get to this green page, this is where captains, you have to be signed in. So I think right now I'm signed in. This is where only the captains or co-captains are gonna have clearance to do this. Okay, so once you're gonna be able to create your little account and you'll be able to get in. And so now I'm gonna click on Volusia. I'm gonna go under admin. Okay, we're gonna click on teams, and this is where they show you these steps in the captain's guide. So if you forget, you're gonna go into captain's guide, teams. We wanna go to scores. We are about to put scores in. So we're gonna go to scores. Okay, I've got to change it to Volusia. Well, and then I'm going to find my division. Now, real quick, don't let me throw you off. I'm going to actually go under Flagler for a second. You'll see why in a minute, but you would normally go under Volusia, but I'm going to go under Flagler. I'm going to select the men's doubles from the fall. This was Chris's division. They combined with Flagler just for the fall, but there was a match they didn't get to play, and so we get to use this line right here. We get to use this as an example that won't mess anything up. So we're going to go under add. Okay. Walter, I'm going to show you your answer in a second. So this is where we're going to select our players. I'm just randomly selecting players. Okay, both teams. Now notice when I selected these, it pre-populated these names down below. But you have to be careful because if you put in substitutes, you have to be careful to actually go and change the name that was pre-populated to the substitute. I noticed a couple teams that didn't do that. And so the player that actually played did not get credit. It was the original player that actually had to come out got the credit, but they didn't even play the whole match. So you have to be careful. Even though it pre-populates, you have to make sure that the names match what's on your score sheet, the paper score sheet. Okay, so let's pretend this team got 11, this team got 6, this team got 5, this team got 11. Okay, so notice over here, that's a 2 to 3, which means the away team lost and the home team won. So that would have been MC2. We have to select the winner. A lot of teams are not doing this part right here. They're not selecting the winner. And I've had to message several captains, please go back and select the winner. Okay, I'm getting there, Walter. Okay, so Tim and Doug and Ernie and Sean.
Ernie's already been picked.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I'm just doing this quickly. Okay. So 5, 11, 11, 9. Okay. This team won again. Let me see. Okay, now, Walter, let's pretend one team only had 4 players. Your team had 6, but they only had 4. We are not going to pick anybody's names. If it's a forfeit and you have to forfeit a line, we're not picking anybody's names. We're just going to put the points in for the team. The other one's going to be 0. 11, 0. And this would be an automatic win, but by forfeit. So that would be untouchables in this case by forfeit. You have to say by forfeit. So with not putting anybody's names in, it's not going to affect anybody's ratings, but it is going to give 4 points to the team that didn't forfeit. Okay.
I see.
See? Yep. Okay. Now, let's pretend, where am I at? That's line 3. Okay. Let's pretend that down here, Tim had to come out. Right? Here's Tim and Doug playing here, but now it's round 2. Tim had to come out. I have to be sure to change the name to the new player. A lot of captains are forgetting to change the name, so then Tim's going to get credit for a match that Alan really played. Okay, so we have to be very careful to make sure the names match what's on your score sheet.
And it starts with line 4 if you're subbing.
Right. So a lot of people ask, why can we not sub after game 1? Well, because there's no way to put a new name in for game 2. The names have to be the same for the entire round. So round 2 starts at line 4, 5, and 6. Round 3 starts at line 7, 8, and 9. Okay, now let's do this. Let's pretend that I don't think I can pretend that. Never mind. I was thinking of something that's not gonna work. Okay, but anyways, I would keep going through in this fashion. I'm not gonna do the whole sheet right now. All the while the points are totaling down here, please make sure that matches what was on your paper copy that the other team signed off on. And then you're gonna submit the scores. I can't do that now because it'll mess up all their ratings. Okay, does anybody have a question on the score sheet? Now, one thing I want to show you is when I go back to look at these teams. So that was Flagler County, just for fun right now. Flagler County, that was men's doubles here. Okay, let's say I go to the untouchables and I can see these green numbers. These are like who they played and all. So if I click on this green number, it's going to bring up a chart like this. Do you see how it check marked the winning team? There should be green check marks. If there's no green check mark, why is there no green check mark? That was a tie. Because this team got 3 points and this team got 3 points. So if there's no check mark, that means it was a tie. But if there's a clear winner, there should be green check marks. Every once in a while, I look at the teams and how they did, and there's no green check marks because the captain forgot to select the winner. Okay, and last season, you know, we would message you and say, hey, don't forget. But that's what I meant by we're all learning with all of this. Okay, anybody on entering scores? By the way, Walter, if you guys have a forfeit and you don't remember what to do, just reach out to the league coordinator and we'll go back over it together.
Okie doke.
Okay, so Terry actually did reach out to me and we worked on that together. Okay, code of conduct.
Say, Deanne,
Yes.
when it comes to those check marks, identifying the winners there, does that have a bearing on their rating?
Absolutely.
Huh.
Absolutely.
You win,
So
you get more points.
real quick, I cannot cite the formula, but there is a formula. There's an algorithm. But the easiest way to explain it is when you play someone, your rating and your partner's rating combined compared to your opponent's combined ratings. Whoever has the highest rating should win the match, theoretically. And if they do win the match, they were expected to win the match, they're going to get a little bump up in their rating. The other team's going to get a little bump down in their rating. It'll be the same amount of bump up and down. But let's say that you were actually the underdog. And it depends on how much of an underdog. If you're like a big underdog and you actually beat the other team, you're going to get a bump up, like a good bump up, because you were the underdog and you beat someone you shouldn't have beat. And so your rating is going to get a pretty good bump and their rating is going to get a pretty good bump down. Let's say that your ratings are, you know, pretty much the same. You might not see too much movement either way.
If there's a tie and you're favored to win that match, your rating might go down slightly.
Right. So I don't know the formula, but it's the same formula for everybody. And one thing I will say, if you haven't noticed, when scores are put in initially, you'll see a very slight change in the ratings. But don't take that for, oh, that's my new rating. For whatever reason, the next day, I guess the system does a full calculation, I don't know. But the next day, round about 9 o'clock in the morning, you'll see your new rating from the previous match.
So with that being said, when I think Chris helped us out with entering those the last time, is there any way for us to go back and identify if those check marks were there?
Well, you certainly can do that. You should be able to go back now and check your team. So how are you going to do that? We're going to be on, let me show everybody how to do that if you want to double check dates. You're going to be on the league website. You're going to go under regions, Northeast Florida. You're going to go to Northeast Florida, Volusia. Drop down this menu. Find the fall season. Viewer XD 35 50 plus right here.
1450
No,
plus.
I think we were the
Oh,
14
we
plus
were.
this time.
We were. You're right. Okay. Here's our teams.
Okay.
We're going to click on your team, Ball Busters. Then you're going to come over here and you're going to click on all of these green numbers. And the arrow goes this way. And you can look and see, and you can click on the number. You're going to look and see where the scores entered correctly. See how I'm doing this?
Yes.
Click on these numbers. Now, I tried to, look and see if captains were doing this right, but I might have missed some stuff because it's a lot to keep up with. But you can go back through and double check all your matches. And if you see one that didn't get put in right, then, we can get that taken care of. So there you go. I mean, looks like most of them that I'm just spot checking look okay, but yeah.
Okay.
You can go back in. Okay, is there anybody else with a question on scores and entering scores? Okay, code of conduct. So one thing I will say is I think for the most part, the teams are doing really good with sportsmanship. But I think we would all agree that, tempers can flare out on the courts. We can get frustrated. We could get upset. We think the other team made a bad call. We can think this or that. But please encourage your players that at the end of the match, we're going to tap paddles. We're going to leave it on the court and we're going to, be good sports about the match. The Florida Team Pickleball in the rules section does have some very, explicit rules about code of conduct, profanity, offensive language, throwing things, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to read all of these. It's completely against the rules. If something like this does occur, the captains need to step in and they need to de-escalate the situation. They need to get their player pulled to the side, get them calmed down, put in the substitute if you need to. And then there needs to be some resolution with the other team, follow up, we apologize, it's been taken care of in-house, that kind of thing. So captains, please work together. We all are competitive. We all have that moment where we're just so PO'd or whatever. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to, come back together and be good sports.
Guys,
There is, if that's not happening, please know there is a grievance form. Let me go back to these resources.
come on,
There is an online grievance form.
Coco, come on.
So if you think someone is very out of line and the captains can't resolve this and you're just,
Coco.
can report. I don't know who Coco is. Please put that on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. There is a grievance form. I really don't want anything that happens at Volusia to go before the grievance committee, because then that's a reflection on the coordinators too. I would like us to work it out, but we just need to help our players keep their tempers.
One more quick question, if you would, please.
Yes, Neighbor, yes.
On the algorithm here, how long does it take after the scores have been entered for those ratings to change?
Right. So like I said, when I put in scores, I notice a little change right away.
So it happens pretty much simultaneously.
Well, no. Okay, I'll give you an example. The last match I played the other day, right after the scores were put in, my rating went to a 3.77. However, the next day, after the system did a full recalculation, how it does, my rating was a 3.70.
Okay.
So when you put scores in, don't think that's it. That's your new rating. Wait till the next day, like 24 hours, or maybe not even 24 hours, but the next day, something happens overnight. And the next morning, about 9 o'clock, should be about what it is. Okay.
Because we were noticing ours didn't even change at all after our last game.
It's possible that it didn't change because maybe the teams were evenly matched, or maybe the winners weren't selected, or maybe something was input incorrectly. That's why. So even if you're the home team and you've entered scores, the visiting team, the away team, should always go back and double check what was input. I've had captains reach out to me and say, hey, Dan, this was supposed to be this. You put that. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I mean, we're all capable of clicking on a wrong number or typing in a wrong number. So you really need to double check, or have your co-captain, maybe give them that job, double check the score sheets in the computer. But it's, this season, it will be very important. I think last season, our team missed going to regionals by like 3 points. So every point, I mean, it's going to be really close, I think. So we got to make sure it's done accurately.
Okay, we got about 2 minutes left.
Yes, we do. So the last thing I want to say is it's not required. So new teams, if there's people here, I think there is, that are thinking about starting a new team, it's not required. But just so you'll know, a lot of the teams do have some team spirit. Some of us have gotten team shirts. Here's some examples. We got the NSB Sharks with some nice shark shirts. This is Crane Lakes. It was cold that night, but they have some lovely Crane Lakes shirts here. This blue shirt, there's Terry. We've got the Untouchables with their purple. We have, this is Sweet Heat and Paddle Maidens. So a lot of the teams, it's not required, but I'm just showing you that it wouldn't be like weird if you got team shirts or maybe a banner, showed some team spirit. That's pretty cool. The league does have, and once again, this is under resources, if I can get there quickly. And for some reason, I can't get down to it. It's down here. It's probably just me on this silly computer. At the bottom of resources, there is a site where you can order shirts from the Florida Pickleball League if you want to. Most of us have gone out on our own and just gotten our own vendors for shirts. And if you want any recommendations, you can message me after the meeting and I'll give you some recommendations. Just a reminder, Team Reach and tennis scorers will be your friends. You can reach us on Team Reach, or we do have a league email. If you email this, Volusia, ftpl@gmail.com, me, Chris, and Lisa will see the email. We work together very well and we cover each other very well. Lisa's out of the country right now, so I've been helping the ladies teams till she gets back. But if you do email us, it does help if you put in the subject line men's, mixed, women's, that'll catch our eye a little bit better. And we will get back with you on anything that you might have for us. Okay, any other questions and answers? That was 2 hours. That was a lot. And we didn't even cover everything.
Well, we basically gave the meat and potatoes of, what the expectations and, entering scores and code of conduct and all that.
Right.
So,
Okay, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Would you recommend creating a team, even if you don't know if you've got enough people, let's say to make 1 or 2 teams, to just go ahead and create the team now in expectation?
You can do that and you can try to get your teams registered. However, if it looks like this is not going to work out, you need to withdraw that team before December 30th so that that team that's really not going to be a team doesn't get put into a schedule.
Okay, got it.
Because then that's going to really mess up the scheduling for the teams that are playing. Because you'll get scheduled to play and then you're not there to play and then that team doesn't have anybody to play.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So should we encourage everybody to go register like tomorrow?
if they're ready,
Yeah, I mean they need to register to be shown on the team. Deanne, this is Chris. You set us up our team up. So I need to tell everybody to go register so they appear on our team list, right?
Yeah,
Yes, Auntie.
I wouldn't say it's like real urgent that they do it by tomorrow, but I would say
Soon.
that if they're committed to the team, they should go ahead and be registering within the next few days.
Okay. And
let-
are you
let me-
going to come back and rate them, or you just are assuming that they're 3? Because I know you were at their courts with us.
Yeah. I mean, I can come back if I didn't get to see someone. I can come back. We can talk about that on the side.
Okay. And then one other thing, you were talking about a team reach. Do you have one for the league, or are you a member of all the individual team reaches for each team?
If you want me to be in your individual team reach, that's fine. Or at least for a
Okay.
little while, if you need me to help you guys keep going for a little bit. But also, I'm gonna put you and Rosemary into my women's, well, it's really Lisa's, but I'm doing it for her right now. I'll put you
Okay.
guys into the women's, or I'll give you an invite into the women's captains group.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
Sounds good. Thanks.
also, basically, the sooner you can register, the better, because if there's a rating off or something, we can fix it,
Okay.
Immediately.
Right.
Well, and I don't know how people are, with the computer and stuff, so they may need help. That's why I'm thinking the sooner the better too.
Yes, yes. And please help each other. Some of us are better with the technology than others. And like I said, if you're on a computer, it looks one way. If you're on a phone, it looks another way. So just be patient. It really does work. But if you're not used to looking at it, it seems a little confusing at first.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one quick question. I'm looking at captaining a 2-5 team. We will be the only 2-5 50+ mix.
Well,
Okay.
congratulations, you're going to the playoffs.
That's right.
That's what happened last year. We played 2-5 last year too. We were the only 2-5 team. We used Detweiler as our home court. The facility question I have is, how do we work that when there are other players on the courts?
Okay, that is a great question. And I wanted to show you guys one more thing. So first of all, we never, ever, 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 if we are playing at a public court, have priority over anybody. So that's why most of the matches are going to be scheduled in the afternoon, like 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock after open play is over. But if you get there and the courts are full, you have to paddle up and wait your turn. Please do not ever tell anyone, oh, well, we're here for the league, so we get to play. No, they will find me and complain. They will find us and complain.
Or they'll post it on Facebook.
Right.
Right. Now, my question is, I played USTA tennis and we played in public courts all the time. USTA was able to work with the city to get courts that they could designate for certain times for league play. Is that a possibility?
So that's not going to happen because our city will charge you quite a bit of money to reserve courts. And we already know this from the New Smyrna Beach Pickleball Club when we've reserved courts for round robins and such.
Okay.
So we're not doing that. I mean, we have a lot of private courts and that's different. By the way, I want to show everybody this really quick. Location. So the same place where we've been going in this green page. If you click on locations, these are all the venues. Now, some of these are Flagler. These are the venues that we have available. Some of them are private, some of them are public. Okay. If you ever need to reschedule a match, you're getting with the other captain, oh, when can we do this? Before you just pick a time, please check the location. So I want to show you an example. So let's pretend you want to play at, I'll just say McElroy. McElroy. And let's say it was on November 16th. Well, there's already 2 matches scheduled, one for 12 and one for 2. I really don't want more than one league match going on at a time, especially at public venues. It's too much because there's going to be other people coming for open play. Now, this could work at 4 o'clock, 11/16 at 4 o'clock, right? But not at 2 o'clock. There's already a match going on. So you need to check that. The other thing is Pictona. Even though there are 49 courts at Pictona, they're not going to reserve for us. Okay, what I say we had like 11 or 12 teams. If we all have home matches, they're not going to be reserving 36 courts for us. In fact, they won't reserve more than 3 courts for us at a time unless I ask really nicely, like really nicely. What they will let you do is show up and take a chance that you get your own courts, and you may or may not, but reserved courts are only going to be 3 courts. So that's why, if you look right here, we had to space these matches out, 9:30, 11:30, 1. You know, there's really not 2 matches going on at the same time, even at Pictona. Now, the teams where you're playing another Pictona team, all of you are members, you have every right to show up and play wherever you want and paddle up and do what you want. But as far as reserved courts, and if you're playing a team that's not a Pictona team, they want us to play on the courts they want us to play on because they're giving a discounted entry fee to the opposing teams. So
There's
they,
a question in the chat.
what's that?
There's a question in the chat.
Okay, go ahead.
How do we adjust / organize that if both the women's doubles and mixed doubles group both use same courts on the same day? Will we see that conflict somewhere on scheduling?
Women's doubles and a mixed doubles on the same day?
That's very rare.
That shouldn't be happening. First of all, a lot of the ladies play on mixed doubles teams. So that's why we have women's and men's doubles on Saturday and mixed doubles on Sunday. Now, I mean, if the captains got together and they looked at their rosters and they know it will really work, that's fine. As long as you check with the league coordinator, and we've got to check the venue to make sure there's room for the match. I hope that made sense. I mean, we want you guys to play when you want to play, but remember, there's a lot of teams and there's limited space on these courts, and we're dealing with open play, and it gets a little tricky. It gets a little tricky. By the way, who was that was talking to me about Detweiler?
That was Miss Reeves.
Who?
Yes. That was me, Vanita Reeves.
Hi, Vanita. Okay. I would very much discourage you from making Detweiler your home courts. For
What are my
several
options? Again, I'm not familiar enough with the courts around here.
Okay. First of all, Detweiler has temporary nets and they have temporary lines. And the courts just really aren't that good for official match play. I mean, you could make it work if you really had to, but it's kind of rinky dink. But the other reason about Detweiler, this happened last year. The season we're about to enter into, you're gonna have bike week, spring break, snowbirds, Easter, and literally there were times when there was no place to park at Detweiler because all of these other events took up the parking places. My husband, Ron, his team, the Sharks, that was their home team. He had to park at the Garlic one time and walk to the match.
Wow.
Trying to get over the causeways when the beach traffic is backed up. You're going to be late for your match. And I would not, we need to get out of Detweiler. I should take that off of here.
Do you have a suggestion for us that we should?
Yes, Port Orange Adult Center or McElroy Park. Both of those are in Port Orange, but you're going to be better off than Detweiler.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got to write these down. So Port Orange Adult.
The Port Orange Adult, they have 8 courts.
Okay.
Or McElroy Park, they have 10 courts.
And if you want a specific time, let's say you want to play at 9 in the morning, you can play at Ponce Inlet and reserve those courts, but you have to go online to do it.
We don't have Ponce Inlet on here, Chris, do we?
Not yet.
Okay, we got to get them on here. Otherwise, we can't. I thought we told her to put those on here, or asked. I thought we asked, was it Mindy?
We'll get it on there.
We'll get it on there. We did request them.
Okay, I will look into those 3 locations and see what works best.
Okay, perfect. And we'll try to get you some more 2-5 teams. I didn't know you were going to actually have a team, but we'll try to get some more teams.
Well, I think we were the only one last year. We just played up at 3-0 the whole time. And then we got an automatic buy into states.
Nice.
There you go. And it's only going to make you better by playing 3-0 teams anyway.
Yeah, actually, we were going to register as 3-0, but we can't because none of us is high enough yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've only played one season, and we're all snowbirds and trying to pick it up again.
Oh, good. Okay, it's getting late.
Yes.
So I see that Chris has been answering some questions in the chat. That's awesome. Oh, real quick, if you are going to be playing a Pictona team, you need to pre-register. I'll send that out on Team Reach. There's a way to pre-register so that you have a player profile if you don't already have one. That way, when you get there, you won't be delayed. You can just like tell them your name, they pull you up, you tell them you're there for the league, you pay $10, you go in. If you don't pre-register, there could be a line when you get there, and then you end up late for your match. So I'll send out the pre-registration link on the Team Reaches. You know, plenty of enough time for you to do that. All right, thank you guys so much for coming. We are gonna we did record this. We will get out the recording for anybody that wants to go back and watch a part of this, if you want to see how to do the scores again or something. And if you know another captain that didn't get to attend, we can get them the recording.
We
Thank you,
appreciate
man.
y'all coming out tonight, y'all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, and have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and we look forward to a great winter season.
Sounds good. Thanks for your help.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.